across the nation.
Tonight, we showcase the extraordinary achievements of 33 Australians.
Celebrating their selfless work,
Inspiring passion.
and commitment to changing and enriching people's lives.
Live from the National Arboretum in Canberra.
This is your 2022 Australian of the Year Awards.
Good evening and welcome to the Australian of the Year Awards for 2022. I'm Susie Youssef and I am absolutely delighted to be here tonight, not only to honour extraordinary Australians, but because I get to stand next to one, Hamish Macdonald.
Thank you very much, Susie. The pleasure is all mine. Good to see you as well. And good evening to all of you at home and also here at the National Arboretum in Canberra. We'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land, the Ngunnawal people. We acknowledge and respect your continuing culture and the contribution that you make to the life of this city and to this region as well.
It is such a joy tonight to celebrate this inspiring group of Australians. For some of us, and by some of us I mean me, our highest achievement this past year was changing out of tracksuit pants. But the amazing humans that you'll meet tonight are literally changing lives.
And thank you so much for making that change out of the tracky ducks tonight, Susie.
Pleasure.
Folks, these awards, now in their 62nd year, are a heartfelt celebration of the incredible talent, passion, ingenuity and generosity of hundreds of Australians serving and improving their communities. It's awesome to be here among so many of the recipients, both past and present.
Yeah, just to be in the presence of such immense strength and kindness and talent, it's overwhelming. And I hope that their greatness is contagious and that soon that's the only thing that's contagious in this country. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, some of our recipients couldn't join us in person, but they are here in spirit and we salute them from afar.
So wherever you are in Australia tonight, thank you for joining us in recognising all 33 of this year's state and territory recipients. 4
of those recipients will receive national awards tonight for their outstanding contribution to society, and those awards are Australia's Local Hero, the Young Australian of the Year, the Senior Australian of the Year and the 2022 Australian of the Year. And I'd just like to thank my mum and dad for nominating me in all 4 categories. You've got to be in it to win it. They're very supportive.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, Susie, but good luck with that. We also have some wonderful music for you tonight from Australian music legend Marsha Hines, along with the ANU Chamber Choir. We're very excited about that, Marsha. Great to have you here. But right now, it is time to introduce the person who will be announcing tonight's Australians of the Year. Would you please put your hands together for the Prime Minister, the Honourable Scott Morrison.
Thank you very much. Friends, this evening we gather together on Ngunnawal country, whose elders past, present and future we acknowledge and we respect. We gather at what continues to be a time of great trial for our country and our people. From drought to fires, floods and pandemic, it's been a tough time for Australia. A time of uncertainty, hardship and loss that we have not known since the days of war and the Great Depression. And our journey through these trials has not been perfect, but here we are, standing, enduring, overcoming together, making our way and emerging stronger than almost any other nation in the world from this global pandemic. This is the story of our country, a story of a quiet, confident people, a journey of character found through resilience, recovery and renewal. We all feel the emotions of these difficult times, the frustration, the anger and anxiety, disappointment, fear and grief. And this is understandable. And while those emotions may remain with us today, there is also much to be thankful for. As we approach our National Day, I am overcome with a sense of thankfulness and gratitude. Thankful for being an Australian, to live in this timeless land of uncommon and unique beauty and diversity nurtured for over 60,000 years by the world's oldest living culture in Indigenous Australians. A land blessed with freedom and prosperity, paid for and built by those who came before us with great sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, to whom we owe a great debt. And a land of hope because of the enduring and optimistic spirit of our people, always believing in our future and what can be done together. And of course, you, the nominees for the Australian of the Year, you remind us of all of this in any setting, at any age and anywhere in our country. The nominees here tonight, like the land from which they are drawn, are diverse and different. Men, women who strive and study, argue and engage, and who love and care for their community and our country. You've reached out for others from deep within your own experience. You've risen to meet a need or light the way, and whole communities have been changed by your actions. For me, this ceremony is about more than an award on a mantelpiece, as I'm sure it is for anyone here. It's a touchstone of what this country is about, what makes us tick, why we keep going as we do. You see, the strength of Australia, the wonder of Australia, is ultimately the Australian people. A generous, open-hearted, practical people who look out for each other, care for their community and their country, and simply get on with it. This is what these finalists here embody. So I congratulate all our finalists tonight. But to each of you, most of all, I just want to say a humble thank you and join with you all in being thankful that we can all call ourselves Australian. Happy Australia Day.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Now, before we get underway with our first award of the evening, we'd like to thank all of our dignitaries in the room, Their Excellencies the Governor-General, Mr and Mrs Hurley, Prime Minister Scott Morrison, Minister Ben Morton, and the Leader of the Opposition, Anthony Albanese. Thank you for being here tonight. The first award of the evening is Australia's Local Hero, and I am beyond excited to be joined by the 2021 recipient, Rosemary Karaoke. Yeah. You'll have to forgive Rosemary, she's very shy.
Yes, I'm very shy.
You are shy, Rosemary. I have to say, last year, meeting you and hearing your story was one of the highlights of my life. You are a spectacular woman. What you do for women, what you do for migrants, the way that you connect refugees to community, you've changed the world, and I'm just thrilled to be standing next to you. How has the last year been? What did this award mean to you?
This award means the world to me. My message of knowing your neighbour, not only the neighbour next door, a neighbour in your office, a neighbour at work, the neighbour at the school you take your children to, at the playground where you take your children. Even, I talked about knowing your neighbour in Vatican. If we all extend our hands, if we all extend our hearts, you can imagine this country, which is multiculturalism. It's a beautiful country, but it will be much, much better. So let us open our hearts. Let us open our homes and embrace that person next to you. And that's the message I've been saying the whole year, and it has been working.
It has absolutely been working, and you've done all of that in your dancing shoes. I personally cannot wait for this pandemic to be over so that we can dance together, Rosemary. Thank you so much for being here tonight. A magnificent inspiration. Best of luck with all the amazing work that you do. Please give another round of applause for the wonderful Rosemary Karaoke.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now here are the nominees for Australia's Local Hero for 2022. From New South Wales, Shana Wan.
Let's be honest about the fact that Australia's got a bit of a drinking problem, and I reckon we need to tackle this conversation front on. I dream of the day that everyone in the bush knows that it's okay to say no to a beer.
From Western Australia, Craig Hollywood.
A large number of people are often overlooked by the rest of society. We're creating visibility and agency for our most vulnerable community members. My mission is to create positive connections and empower people in need, one free haircut at a time.
From Queensland, Sabah Abraham.
I believe that when women are strong, everyone is strong. My vision is for socio-economic empowerment of refugee women. I have had those opportunities. I want others to have these opportunities as well.
From Tasmania, Kimberly Smith.
We need to think differently about how we teach our road rules. This gets people past that first hurdle in getting their L's and results in safer roads.
From South Australia, Monique Barham.
We need positive health outcomes for all those living with or at risk of lymphedema. My vision is simple. I don't want to see lymphedema patients suffering in silence anymore.
From the Northern Territory, Rebecca Forrest.
Family violence is rife across our country, including my own lived experience. I'm committed to providing a platform for all Australians to share their stories, because when we share stories, we build courage, and that strengthens community.
From Victoria, Leo Optenbrow.
Volunteers are the backbone of small communities. They are the fabric that holds communities together. I strongly encourage you to consider volunteering in your community. The opportunities are out there.
From the Australian Capital Territory, Luke Ferguson.
I get to empower young people of all abilities through music. I see light bulbs going off over their heads, then stand back and watch them glow as they pass their newfound knowledge onto their friends. And that's when real change happens. Music is magic.
It certainly is magic, and in fact all of the work of these nominees is magic in the communities that they represent. Congratulations and good luck to all of tonight's nominees. I'd now like to invite the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, to announce Australia's local hero for 2022.
Australia's local hero for 2022 is Shanna Wan.
After almost losing her life to alcohol addiction, Shanna Wan established the grassroots charity Sober in the Country to start a conversation about the culture of excessive drinking in rural communities and to spread a simple message. It's okay to say no to a beer. Congratulations to Australia's local hero for 2022, Shanna Wan.
One day I was driving along and I heard a voice on the radio. It was Shanna Wan, and she changed my life. My name is Matthew Tonkin. I grew up at North Star, northwestern rural New South Wales. I'm the youngest of 5 in a rural farming family. God, that part of Australia is pretty special. The landscape changes dramatically from season to season. From as early as I can remember, my world was the farm and the men who worked it. Stockmen, farmers, shearers and truckies. They'd work harder than any men I'd ever seen. But always, at the end of the day, there were knock-off beers. It was like a trophy or a prize at the end of a hard day. It was part of our culture. So as I grew up and stayed that course, it became second nature. Every day after work, I got stuck into the beers. I didn't always want one, but I felt I needed one. That need for one became 2, 3, became 10. By my early 40s, drinking had overtaken my life. Out here, there's almost no activities that don't involve the beers. Drinks after cricket, celebrating the footy wins, even the kids' school carnivals. Any excuse for those knock-off beers. But for me and many other rural people, that path has led to a world of hurt. That was regional Australia, and it still is.
Things were going to get to a point with me if I didn't address what was happening and face the truth of where I was at, that disaster was imminent, and it really was.
When I heard Shanna that day on the radio, I had to stop the car. Here was a rural person talking to me about her battle with alcohol, which was destroying her life. But I realised that she was also talking about me. Shanna described rural Australia's drinking problem, the isolation that I and many other people were feeling. She had a simple message that it's okay to say no to a beer. That message hit me hard. It was so close to home. She shone a light on the issues. She showed me a way out, the how-tos and the what-ifs. She had created a community that offered me support, and I no longer felt alone. The relief I felt on that day and the days going forward was unbelievable. Shanna Wan's work is changing the life of rural Australians every day. She's helping people up, offering a hand, providing that comfort and support that makes you feel like you aren't alone. I'll be forever grateful to Shanna Wan. She's actually allowed me to live a completely new life, this fantastic new life. On the 26th of January, I'll be 4 years sober. Thank you, Shanna. Thank you.
You can never question the God-given right of someone enjoying a few beers in the bush. And that's not what I do. But as a mate, you can respect someone's choice to say no thank you or not today. I've walked the tightrope of this conversation now for 7 years while speaking the truth of overcoming my own alcoholism and establishing Sober in the Country. I do it because someone had to go first. I do it because somebody sharing their truth with me saved my life. And I do it because every single one of you knows my story is not unique. Alcohol use is the silent pandemic we are not discussing. And it's a pandemic that is exploding exponentially with COVID-19, no matter your postcode. Excuse me. Addiction looks the same all over the country. But what you might not know is that rural people are 150% more likely to suffer from alcohol harm, and only 17% of us will get the help we need. Harm from booze walks hand in hand with all the big health, mental health and farm safety issues that we face in the bush. But still, we persist in treating this common problem like a dirty little secret, rather than the real, visible health crisis it is. Do you know 6,000 of us will die this year because of alcohol, and 160,000 of us will end up in hospital? Taxpayers, you'll get to spend about $35 billion footing the bill. It's honestly more acceptable to be drunk than it is to be sober in the country. But thank God it's okay to be a good mate. That is a priority. And that is the message I drive behind our OK to Say No campaign. Be a good mate. Don't question or bully someone's choices. You do you, but give someone else the space to do what they need to do for themselves. Life in rural Australia is permanent ISO. We've always got plenty of beers in the fridge, but we've never really got enough services or support close by. That was my reality, and that's the reality of the people I'm fighting for. And rural people are worth fighting for because they get up and they show up in fire and flood and droughts and plagues and pandemics, and they put food on the nation's table. So the least we can do as a nation is make sure that they're getting support when they look for it. This is dedicated to every single one of you choosing bush sunrises over hangovers. And most of all, it's dedicated to the man who made me believe I was worth fighting for. I love you, Timbo. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations again to Shanna Wan, Australia's local hero for 2022. Please put your hands together. Well, the next category tonight is our Young Australian of the Year. This award celebrates inspiring 16 to 30-year-olds who are already making a huge difference in the community. 2021's recipient, Isabel Marshall, was recognised for her part in breaking down the stigma around menstruation and providing greater access to hygiene products. Isabel is here with me. Great to see you again. I can't believe a year has flown by.
Me either.
A lot of nervous souls in this room tonight waiting to find out who the recipients will be. What's your advice to anyone that becomes Young Australian of the Year, Senior Australian of the Year, Australian of the Year?
Well, my advice, and my co-founder Eloise Hall would absolutely echo this, is that you are not alone at all. All of you are representing and fighting for incredible causes, which is sometimes an emotionally and physically exhausting task, but you have us around, you have obviously your support networks, but more than that, all those people that you represent, they're standing beside you and around you, and that is the energy that you need to bring on this stage, knowing that you are doing the job you need to do on behalf of an incredible population.
So you're handing your digits out to any recipients tonight?
Of course, always.
Congratulations, Isabel. Thank you so much. Now, let's take a look at this year's state and territory recipients for Young Australian of the Year.
From New South Wales, Dr. Daniel Noor.
116,000 people are experiencing homelessness in Australia. There are a number of challenging barriers limiting their access to healthcare. Streetside Medics strives to alleviate those barriers by providing a mobile medical service dedicated to the homeless community.
From Western Australia, Kendall White.
The mental health of Australians has never been more important than right now. I hope to use the symbol of the blue tree to spark difficult conversations, to kick the stigma and help build a more mentally healthy future.
From Queensland, Dr. Tani Bridson.
Healthcare workers have higher rates of mental illness, burnout, and suicide. I created Hand in Hand because I wanted to make it easier for healthcare workers to access supports. I don't want to lose another colleague to suicide.
From Tasmania, Caitlyn Johnson.
Young people in rural areas, in particular Indigenous youth, face adversity and disadvantage. Yet we have so much potential to create change in our societies. It's our voices and our action that will lead Australia out of these disparities.
From the Northern Territory, Sizzle Fuliana.
I was told that I'd never succeed in life, that I didn't have a future. Adults need to empower young people to believe in their potential to create a better future. We need to ignite that in them.
From South Australia, Dr. Trudy Lynn.
There is a silent crisis in our oral healthcare system. There aren't enough specialists to meet the overwhelming need of oral care in our nation. Every person has the right to equal access to oral healthcare.
From Victoria, Ahmed Hassan.
I continue to see a lot of multicultural youth falling through the cracks of society, but I know they have incredible potential, provided they have the right support and opportunities. I want to help enable the next generation of youth leaders.
From the Australian Capital Territory, Sean Dundas.
Each year, 23,000 young Australians are impacted by cancer, whether it's their own or of family members. I should know. This happened to me. It's my mission to ensure more young people have access to specialised support to deal with their cancer experience.
Wow. What a staggering bunch of young Australians. Well done to all the young, amazingly young nominees who are so impressive and so very young. Now, we invite the Prime Minister to announce the 2022 Young Australian of the Year.
Thank you. The Young Australian of the Year for 2022 is Dr. Daniel Noor.
Inspired by a medical emergency on the streets of London, Dr. Daniel Noor founded Streetside Medics in 2020.
a not-for-profit service dedicated to ensuring people experiencing homelessness have direct access to free medical care. Congratulations to Young Australian of the Year for 2022, Dr. Daniel Noor.
Just driving at the moment to one of our clinics. All of our clinics are a GP-run medical service, which goes to 4 different sites across New South Wales. And we collaborate with already existing food services or shelters. And we provide our service free of charge to anyone that's coming to that food service or anyone that needs us. It took everything within my life for at least a few years. And for me, it was difficult. I will not shy away from the fact that it was a very tough journey, but I feel like it was my responsibility. I felt like I knew that I could do it. I had the support around me to make it happen, and it would have been a shame and it would have been a misjustice if I didn't do it. So when we come to the clinics, generally we're all greeted by name. We start to know these patients, they start to know us. How are you, Aaron? Good man. That's become part of the beauty of it. We really have become part of the fabric of the community and part of the the culture of being here. We've got about 6 or 7 people waiting to see some of the doctors. Some are coming back for their results, but most of them are new patients that we haven't seen before. Many of them are coming back for things like cream, so some of them need specialist cream which they're unable to afford, so we get it for them. We've only been here for 10 minutes and we're pretty inundated with patients that need our help.
Someone with his rich array of talents that also cares that much, that's pretty special. I think he's a young man with a very strong social conscience and he's seen a societal need. He's a genuine role model for so many. What we've been witnessing here tonight, it's not right. It offends his notion of the way the world should be.
We have the best healthcare system in the world, but there are barriers that limit access to healthcare. There are people that I've seen living on the streets who have wounds that are going unmanaged, who have diabetes going unmanaged, who have cancers that have been untreated for years. And it worries me that so many of these people are dying on the streets because they're not able to access services. And not everything is a success story, and it's not all glamorous, but at least there's a service that's there and that it's available to them in a place where they want to be. And the onus isn't on them to come to us. We will continue to go to them.
I feel like he's coming to the community with a genuine sense of help. He's very warm, engaging, sincere and authentic.
I truly believe that in life, we all have passions and we all have interests that we never chose, really they chose us. And I think it's our obligation to listen to that and to actually act on that. I've always told myself if you can help just one person, then it's worth it. And tonight there was a few people that I think we made a remarkable difference on. And so no matter how tired we are, at least speaking personally, I love it.
Look what he's done to address this really profound need that so many of us have seen forever. That's the truly inspirational thing, I think, about Daniel, is that he doesn't walk past it.
I would like to start by also acknowledging the Ngunnawal people and pay my respects to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present and emerging. I'd like to acknowledge our Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Scott Morrison, distinguished guests, friends and family. As we all sit here tonight, there are over 116,000 Australians who are experiencing homelessness. Some are sleeping in the streets, exposed to the harsh elements of an unpredictable environment. Some are single mothers, fleeing from domestic violence, sleeping in the back of their cars with their fearful children. Some are going couch to couch, shelter to shelter, praying for a warm night's sleep. Unfortunately, many of these Australians face significant barriers, which limits their ability to access the healthcare service that we are all so lucky to have available to us. As a result of this, they suffer in silence. Many die of conditions which could have been treated and avoid interventions which could have improved quality of life. I have seen 50-year-olds like Peter die of heart failure, struggling for a breath in the cold night air. I have seen people like 40-year-old Eddie, who's living with maggots in his wounds. I have seen people like Neil, a 29-year-old type 1 diabetic, who is suffering from irreparable damage due to being unable to afford his insulin. As Australians, it's our responsibility to advocate for those who seem to have lost their voice and to rise up to the occasion even when we question our own ability to do so. Let me tell you that, genuinely, my fear was failure, and it almost stopped me from establishing Streetside Medics. Despite my fear, I simply couldn't live with myself, knowing that there were Australians suffering from medical conditions that could be treated. Today, Streetside Medics has a team of 250 volunteers. Doctors, nurses, allied health professionals, and volunteers who share in our desire to improve the healthcare outcomes for those who are experiencing homelessness. They have given and continue to give breath to the breathless, hope to those that have lost hope, and love to those that are unloved. And for that, I applaud them. Our service has changed the lives of many, but we are nowhere where we need to be. Our ambitions are large. There are 116,000 and growing number of those experiencing homelessness, and they deserve better. One state is simply not good enough, and our vision is nationwide. To anyone who can help, I urge you to reach out. For me, Streetside Medics has changed my life for the better in every way. So please join me, and together let's change the way that we deliver healthcare for those that are experiencing homelessness, the most vulnerable, our brothers and sisters. And finally, I would like to say thank you. Thank you to the patients who trust us to give them care. Thank you to the board, the volunteers, the donors and supporters. And I'll end with this. As Confucius says, those who say they can and those who say they can't are both probably right. So just do it and believe in yourself. Thank you very much.
Huge congratulations one more time for our 2022 Young Australian of the Year, Dr. Daniel Noor.
Well, of course, as we all know, 2021 was another tough year for many Australians, and through it all, our recipients from all states and territories have continued working tirelessly to help enrich lives.
Some have provided social and emotional support. Some have broken down stigma surrounding mental health. Others have empowered and inspired people living with a disability, or pioneered new technology to battle climate change. And I can say Hamish Macdonald does all of this before breakfast, which is so impressive.
It's a very early start, Suze. As a tribute to the resilience and generosity of tonight's recipients, would you please welcome to the stage Marsha Hines and the ANU Chamber Choir with the appropriate choice of Bill Withers' classic, Lean on Me.
You See, we all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me. Lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load that you can't bear, you need to carry. I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me, call me, call me, call me, call me. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. So we all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. So we all need somebody to lean on. Call me if you need a friend. Call me if you need a friend. You know you can call me when you need a friend. Call me, yes. Call me when you need a friend. Call me, you know you can call me when you need a friend. Call me, yes. Call me, why don't you call me, please? Call me when you need a friend. Call me, call me when you need a friend. Call me.
The magnificent Marsha Hines and the ANU Chamber Choir. How good is live music?
I was going to say, how good is it seeing Rosemary Karaoke dancing in a chair?
Oh, I would pay money to see Rosemary Karaoke dancing anytime. And we will be hearing a little more from Marsha and the choir a little later in the show, as well as a tap dancing routine from Hamish Macdonald. Can't wait.
Not on your life, Susie. Our next award tonight celebrates those dedicated citizens over the age of 65. Here are the state and territory recipients for the 2022 Senior Australian of the Year.
From New South Wales, Ablakadoos.
Australia is a great and beautiful country. As an Australian, I want everyone to open their hearts to show love, empathy and respect to others. Peace and harmony in a community will only happen when our hearts say, it's okay to be different.
From South Australia, Mark Lemessurier.
Young people have huge untapped potential to lead purposeful lives. We as adults need to connect and build relationships to empower our young to reach that potential.
From Queensland, Dr. Colin Dillon.
Honesty and integrity are values that I want to convey to future generations. The right decision isn't always the easy decision. Often, those harder decisions offer a better outcome for the whole of society.
From Tasmania, Bruce French.
There's a child dying every 10 seconds of undernutrition. However, there are over 33,000 highly nutritious, well-adapted edible plants across the world. These have the potential to address the hunger and malnutrition of the rural poor.
From the Northern Territory, Robin Burridge.
The rights of people living with a disability are equal to everyone else. I want to encourage inclusiveness. We need to open up our whole society to provide better access for all people living with a disability.
From Western Australia, Janice Standen.
Grandparent carers are not recognised for
for the work that they do in raising their grandchildren in full-time care. Grandparent carers are invisible. We need equality from all governments for a fairer future for our grandchildren.
From the Australian Capital Territory, Val Dempsey.
Every driver on our road is a potential first aider. I want to see all Australians gain first aid competencies as part of getting their driver's licence. Learn first aid and help save lives.
From Victoria, Gay Hamilton.
My life's work has been with people who are more familiar with disadvantage than with prospects. I believe that every Australian should have the opportunity to be their best. With small gestures, we can make big differences.
A huge congratulations to our nominees. Don't you just stand in awe of these amazing humans. And now, Prime Minister Scott Morrison, please tell us who is the 2022 Senior Australian of the Year.
Thank you, and a special shout out for Miriam Rose, who I know couldn't be here this evening. The Senior Australian of the Year for 2022 is Val Dempsey.
Since primary school, Val Dempsey has dedicated her life to St John Ambulance. Donating thousands of hours of her time, she's one of the ACT's longest-serving volunteers. Her passion and commitment to helping the community and other volunteers has been unwavering. Congratulations to the Senior Australian of the Year for 2022, Val Dempsey.
Val has given 40 years plus service to the organisation, which inspires others to do very much the same. It's an incredible amount of service, and we're very honoured to have had Val serve for the number of years that she has.
I've had the pleasure and honour to work alongside Val for over 40 years doing the things we do in St John. Val brings such a sense of enjoyment to what can be such a tireless and thankless job. Val will just keep going and keep going and keep going. Nothing's going to stop her from providing a service to our community. It's just who she is.
She's always been involved in everything I've ever heard of that's been done in St John ACT. And I've been very surprised, in fact, by the personal contribution and above all, where she's been able to mentor other people working in that same field with her. I think some people have got service and duty running through the blood in their veins, and I think Val is one of those people. Their motivation behind it is to make sure that if people are in need, that their needs are met. The community, therefore, is buttressed and made to feel stronger by the fact that somebody like Val exists amongst them and is able to help. Her whole life seems to be one of selfless service and of commitment to the needs of the community in so many different and various ways.
For over 5 years now, Val's been coming out almost every night to lend a helping hand, helping those in need, those with distress, maybe had a bit too much to drink. She's one of those people who you can always rely on to be there for people.
I first met Val on night crew when I first started a year ago. She was really that kind and knowledgeable friend who helped me get comfortable in my role and show me how I was going to do things and how I can do things better, and actually gave me the confidence to do them.
She is absolutely inspiring a new generation of volunteers, a younger generation of volunteers to follow in her footsteps and do the great work that she has done.
I think it's absolutely amazing that Val can give 40 years of her life to the community and expect nothing back. And one day I hope I can actually give as many hours to the community as she has.
Oh my goodness, Lindsay, we're going to need a bigger office. Oh, seriously, one computer in the back room is not going to be big enough for what I want to do. Oh, dear goodness. I'm a proud member of St John Ambulance, and our work is for the faith and in the service of humanity. I believe holding out a hand to someone or taking the opportunities to be kind make all the difference and come back to you 1,000-fold. 30 years ago, I instigated Project Survival, teaching people with addiction how to apply first aid to their fellow Australians should they experience an overdose, because all life is precious. This is why I believe in first aid, and why I believe all Australians should learn first aid to save lives. Tonight, I want to inspire another generation with a project that I know will save lives. If the first person on the scene of a road crash has first aid training and supports injured people within 5 to 7 minutes of the accident, lives are saved. Bystander first aid is proven to prevent death in those vital minutes before an ambulance arrives. Our National Road Safety Strategy for the next decade aims for a 30% decrease in death and trauma through safe roads, safe speeds, safe vehicles, and safe driver behaviour. But there will always be human error. And while safe roads, vehicles, and driver behaviour are important, not one of those things can help a seriously injured person in the moment following a crash and before the ambulance arrives. But first aid does. First aid does. Imagine this. Now, don't get too scared. Every learner driver in Australia undertaking compulsory first aid training, as they currently do in 11 European countries. No other single measure has the potential to educate a generation to save lives like bystander first aid does. Our family was forever changed by a car accident more than 3 decades ago, where people came to help but didn't know what to do, and a very precious life was lost. As a nation, we can rethink our approach to those critical minutes between life and death at a road accident, to make members of our community part of the solution. Oh boy. So from this humble senior Australian, nurse, wife, mother, granny, great-grandma, surviving myositis patient, and brand proud St John Ambulance volunteer, there is no greater gift to our nation and our humanity than saving lives. Thank you.
huge congratulations to our Senior Australian of the Year for 2022, Val Dempsey.
Congratulations, Val. By the way, since you might be thinking about it right about now, nominations are open for the 2023 Australian of the Year Awards. Head to australianoftheyear.org.au. You can suggest an extraordinary Aussie who deserves recognition. It can be anyone as long as they're an inspirational role model who changes lives, like Val does, for the better.
Yes, it can be anyone. So look around at your colleagues, Hamish, to your family, your friends, and sometimes the most outstanding people are closer than you think. Okay, it's now time for the National Anthem.
One day, Suze, one day. Please make welcome the ANU Chamber Choir to perform Advance Australia Fair. If you're at home, you can belt this out to your heart's content. A reminder to everyone in this room, because of COVID, all you can do is hum, but I'm really looking forward to hearing that. If you're able to, please stand for the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds nature of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing Advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant Southern Cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of us renowned of all the lands. For those who's come across the sea, we've boundless praise to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing Advance Australia fair.
Once again, would you please thank the wonderful ANU Chamber Choir. And before we present the final award of the night, I wanted to talk to someone that knows all about what it means to be Australian of the Year. Would you please welcome back to the National Arboretum 2021's Australian of the Year, the one and only Grace Tame. Grace, it's lovely to see you again. You have unquestionably had an extraordinary year. You have changed the conversation, transformed it in so many ways. I think a lot of people want to know what's next. So what is next, Grace Tame?
Oh, well, that's very kind of you, Hamish. I mean, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Australia who have been continuing this conversation for such a long time and for embracing the message last year. You know, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. It's a team effort. And as such, my partner in love and life, who's sitting over there, Max, and I, yes, he deserves a round of applause. He deserves a nomination for Australian of the Year, I think, for supporting me. We've just established the creatively named Grace Tame Foundation with the overarching goal of ending the sexual abuse of children and others and pursuing that specifically through structural change, so education and legal reform. That's what we'll be doing for as long as it takes to achieve that goal.
Well, the nation will continue watching. Congratulations on an incredible year. And to you and Max as well. I think congrats are in order.
Oh, thank you.
Grace Tame, ladies and gentlemen. And so, without further ado, here are the state and territory recipients for the Australian of the Year. From New South Wales, Professor Veena Sahajwalla.
Waste shouldn't be a concept in our society. Every bit of waste contains materials that are waiting to find their next purpose. Come with me and be a part of the journey by diverting items away from landfill and into their next lives.
From Western Australia, Paul Litherland.
Our online playgrounds are not being designed with the same level of protection as in the real world. We need to educate ourselves about the risks that exist online and pressure the creators of our online playgrounds to make their environments safer.
From Queensland, Sue and Lloyd Clark.
In February 2020, we lost our daughter Hannah and 3 of our grandchildren in an arson attack by their husband and father.
This drew a line in the sand for our family and the rest of the country. We must put an end to domestic and family violence.
From Tasmania, Craig Leeson.
Through storytelling, I investigate some of the biggest issues facing humanity. The power of film allows me to bring these issues to community leaders. By focusing on solutions, we can provide a future for the next generation.
From the Northern Territory, Leanne Little.
We can't pretend that we live in a system that's fair, equitable and just. We must address and redress oppression and injustice. We need to accept the impact and consequences of racism if we are to thrive together as Australians.
From South Australia, Professor Helen Marshall.
Every child in Australia should have equitable access to vaccines, regardless of their circumstances. I never want to see another child die or be disabled from a vaccine-preventable disease.
From the Australian Capital Territory, Patrick Mills.
I've taken upon myself to be a role model for all young Australian kids, but especially in the Indigenous communities as well. It's all about where I'm from and representing that on a high level.
From Victoria, Dylan Olcott.
People with disability in Australia face unconscious bias and discrimination every single day through a lack of opportunity and access. My purpose is to change those negative perceptions so people with disability can get out and live the lives they deserve to live.
I don't know why I'm nervous. I'm not nominated, but I have goosebumps all over my body. So good luck to all of tonight's recipients. Just got to get through one more line and not cry. Okay. Prime Minister Scott Morrison, please tell us who is 2022's Australian of the Year.
Thank you. The 2022 Australian of the Year is Dylan Olcott.
Competing first in wheelchair basketball and then tennis, Dylan Olcott OAM is a 4-time gold medalist at the Paralympic Games and is the first male in history in any form of tennis to win the Golden Slam. His foundation supports marginalised Australians with a disability, and he founded Ability Fest, Australia's first and only inclusive, fully accessible music festival. Congratulations to the Australian of the Year for 2022, Dylan Olcott OAM.
reason I get out of bed every single day is to change perceptions so people with disability, people like me, can get out and live the lives they deserve to live.
Dylan's achievements, both on the tennis court and off the tennis court, highlight not only his work ethic, but his enthusiasm for the sport, as well as disability and inclusion.
When we have young players, they want to be like Dylan, they want to achieve as many things as Dylan did.
He's strong, brave, doesn't give up.
What Dylan is doing has showed me, and I'm sure many other people, what is possible and that the sky's the limit.
He is now recognized as not a player in a wheelchair, but a great guy.
He does it so kids growing up and people with disabilities can see that we can be elite athletes. Yeah, he just is a really, really inspiring man, and he's just doing so much for the community.
Dylan Olcott is a beast. He's a Golden Grand Slam winner, a guy that runs his own music festival. He's a radio presenter extraordinaire, a legendary television host, runs his own consulting agency. He runs the Dylan Olcott Foundation, and he does all of these things to change our perceptions of what it is to have a disability.
Everywhere you look, you see Dylan, but he is out there and he's a voice for us, and I can't say enough how amazing it is that he is using his platform to really make social change for all of us. Really trying to normalise disability and, as he says, trying to make disability sexy.
He is such a wonderful figure to have on screens, on radio, as this amazingly confident, cool guy that can achieve all of these different things, that is also an incredible role model for young people.
Help Dylan, help and love, it is good on well, one day we'll be on it to do that.
How dare he be so talented and skilled and hardworking? That's what I want to know.
When I see him train, I want to push harder and harder to my limits and be like him. And he's definitely like a superhero, like he is.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I think standing ovations are one of the most ironic things in the world, by the way. But I'll take them, all right? Without a doubt. First, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land as well and pay my respects to past, present and emerging. To the Prime Minister, thank you so much. I honestly thought I was no chance tonight. I honestly didn't. I got off the court at 1 o'clock today. I won my semi-final at the Australian Open, luckily. I thought I was no chance. Then I got here and I saw this really good-looking ramp. And I thought, I might have a chance here. To be honest, that's a good-looking ramp. I thought, I'm underprepared. I'm shaken. To everybody that's not nominated for the Australian of the Year category, but absolutely everybody here tonight, congratulations on what you're doing. I feel ridiculous sitting up here, to be honest. I was looking at everybody's profiles, what you're doing. You don't need this to keep changing this country. You really don't. And I'm extremely honoured to be among all of you and to get the nod. As I said, congratulations on everything that you're doing. And I feel, the last 2 years have been so tough on so many people, and I feel honestly ridiculous being here. To our frontline workers, our nurses, our doctors, people running our vaccines, our AMBOs, our firefighters, you deserve this way more than a guy who hits tennis balls and likes talking. You know what I mean? I really mean that, and it's such a huge honour. And I know, I guess she has officially finished her turn as Australian of the Year, but it would be remiss of me without shouting out Grace Tame on an absolute incredible year. Tame, you are fierce and I love it, and you have done so much for your cause, and if I could be 1/8 of the Australian of the Year that you were, I think I've done my job. And I remember when I won the US Open, I sculled a beer out of my trophy, and you put it up on Twitter saying, if I got to pass the mantle over to this guy, I'd be honoured. But the only thing is we have to scull a beer together. So give me a couple of days, and then we can do it. All right, not just yet. I've been in a wheelchair my whole life. I was born with a tumour wrapped around my spinal cord that was cut out when I was only a couple of days old, and I've known nothing but having a disability. And if I'm honest with you, I cannot tell you how much I used to hate myself. I used to hate having a disability. I hated it so much. I hated being different, and I didn't want to be here anymore. I really didn't. And whenever I turned on the TV or the radio or the newspaper, I never saw anybody like me. And whenever I did, it was a road safety ad where someone drink drives, has a car accident, and what's the next scene? Someone like me in tears because their life was over. And I thought to myself, that's not my life. But I believed that was going to be my life. And I'm so lucky that I had one of the best family and some of the best friends and my beautiful partner, Chantel, and my whole team who told me that I was worthy and that I was allowed to be loved. And, when I reached the end of my teenage years, I started seeing people like me. I also stand on the shoulders of giants. Not literally. Still can't stand. But Paralympic athletes like Louise Savage, Kurt Fernley, Danny Dottoro, people that are the reason that I got into sport, advocates like Stella Young, they paved the way so I can be here tonight. They should have been Australian of the Year as well. And I'm honestly so honoured to be up here, and it's because of them and everybody in my life that I sit here as a proud man with a disability tonight. I love my disability. It is the best thing that ever happened to me. It really is. And I'm so thankful for the life that I get to live. And I get sent stem cell research and all this stuff. And you can honestly not pay me enough money in the whole world to ever do it. Because I love the person that I am and the life that I get to live. And I'm the luckiest guy in this country, easily. But I know for the 4.5 million people in this country, 1 in 5 people that have a physical or non-physical disability, they don't feel the same way that I do. And it's not their fault. But it's up to all of us to do things so they can get out and be proud of their disability as well and be the people that they want to be. We've got to fund the NDIS first and foremost and listen to people with lived experience and ask them what they need so they can get out and start living the lives that they want to live. And remind ourselves that it is an investment in people with disabilities so they can get off pensions and start paying taxes, just like their carers and their family members as well. As we start opening up from this pandemic, which is awesome, we got to think about and prioritise people with disability, some of the most vulnerable people in our community. We got to get them the vaccines and the tests and whatever else they need so they can get out there and start living their life. If a person with a disability needs a free daily RAT test so they feel confident going out and doing things that we all might take for granted, they've got to get that RAT test. We've got to keep improving more employment opportunities for people with a disability as well. Of those 4.5 million people, only 54% of them are involved in the workforce. Unemployment rate is double that of able-bodied people. Both figures haven't moved in 30 years. And guess what? We're not just ready to work, we're ready to take your jobs, all right? We are coming. We are coming. But we've got to get those opportunities. And lastly, we have to have greater representation of people with a disability absolutely everywhere. In our boardrooms, in our parliaments, in our mainstream schools, on our dating apps, on our sporting fields, in our universities, absolutely everywhere. So we get the opportunity to start living our lives just like everybody else. And I promise you, you won't just enrich the lives of us, but also yourselves in the process. And before I go, I just want to leave you with this. One of the number one questions I get asked by people is, Dill, mate, What is your advice to a young person with a disability or anyone with a disability so they can start living their life? And my advice is this. You don't need my advice. You know what to do. And you've had people telling you what to do your whole life. But my advice is to you, non-disabled people. It's time for you to challenge your unconscious biases, leave your negative perceptions at the door and lift your expectation of what you think people with disability can do. Because it's always more than you think. Now, unfortunately, I heard the Australian of the Year after party is one of the best after parties ever. But unfortunately, I've got an Australian Open to try and win in about 36 hours. I really hope I make you proud out there. But winning Grand Slams and gold medals isn't my purpose. It's like the 30th priority of my life. My purpose is changing perceptions so people with disability, people like me, can get out there and live the lives that they deserve to live. It was my purpose yesterday, it's my purpose today, and it will be my purpose as your Australian of the Year for the next 12 months and beyond. And I really hope I make every single one of you proud. Thanks very much.
Your Australian of the Year for 2022, Dylan Olcott. We're so proud of you, buddy.
I just have to say, Dylan Olcott, that you not only make disability and humility, but you also make kindness very sexy. So, sorry, Chantel, but he does, you know it. We're so proud of you. What an overwhelmingly wonderful evening it has been. Please now welcome back to the stage all of our national recipients. And while that happens, Hamish, tell us what is in store tomorrow.
Okay, Australia Day coverage kicks off on the ABC with the Woogalora morning ceremony at 7:30am, followed by the National Citizenship and Flag Raising ceremony at 9am, and January 26th with Miriam Korowa at 5:30pm. And of course, Jeremy Fernandez will host the Australia Day live broadcast, which begins at 7:30pm.
Now, before we get to the party end of the evening, well done to all the state and territory recipients, and a huge congratulations once again to these 4 incredible Australians.
Would you please put your hands together for Australia's local hero, Shanawan.
To our Young Australian of the Year, Dr. Daniel Noor.
To the Senior Australian of the Year, Val Dempsey.
And one more time for our Australian of the Year for 2022, it's Dylan Olcott. It has been a joy and an honour to share this moment with so many outstanding Australians. Thanks to our wonderful house band, to everyone behind the scenes who don't get the credit they deserve. They do an amazing job to helping to put these awards together, and also to my wonderful co-host Hamish Macdonald. Thank you,
Suze. It's been a pleasure. Now, to continue the celebrations tonight, we'll leave you with Marsha Hines with her classic, You. Good night, Australia.
It must be something special about really loving